I had one friend, I could call her a friend, she helped me clean the house every couple of weeks. In Turkey, that's like a thing. It doesn't mean that you're rich, that's like a thing that you're able to do here. I know in America it's not like that. But anyway, yeah, so there's this lady that would come, and she had a headscarf, and we were really close. We would like sing and dance and clean, and she went through a pretty rough accident. Car almost ran her over, so she was in the hospital, and she had a loss of blood that was pretty traumatic, but it wasn't just because of the accident. The accident just kind of diagnosed this problem. She didn't have a very easy upbringing, and she was married at 15, and then at 16 she had her first baby, and it was a very hard pregnancy, and then her second pregnancy was even harder. So she was really distraught, and one time when she came after being gone in the hospital for so long, while she was in the hospital, she would send pictures of her IV, and she would just, like, she was really sad. You could tell, because normally she's really bubbly and she's really fun, but she had it rough. And I would send her, she told me afterwards, I would send her these emojis with like bicep emojis, like sunshine, and try to make her feel good, like aslan koçum, sen yaparsın, çok güçlüsün. Like, you're so strong, you could do this, you know, persevere. And I think that was such a stark contrast to what she was receiving in her own friend circle. The tone was a lot more desperate. Oh, God willing, you'll get better, God willing, this and that. And we had this one conversation, you know, very intimate and deep details. She had some unfortunate things happen to her. It was so blatantly obvious to me that the reason for such despair was coming from this Islamic culture that is so problematic. And so I was trying to point that out to her subtly. She just felt so much shame for being a woman and for having her body parts, and she couldn't even talk about having a period without, you know, like covering her mouth and getting like this stupid giddy. And after that conversation, which I thought really went well, afterwards she was like, oh, I'm so glad you're in my life, and I'm happy to be able to share these things because, you know, my surroundings, I can't really talk very freely. And I said, of course. And it really saddened me, but at the same time we had a really good dialogue. And I think at the end of that day she felt a lot better than when she came in. She came in crying, and then she left laughing. She wants to learn English, and so her cousin, I think, or maybe her husband, she always makes me translate text messages, so it seems like she's learning. And I guess that without my permission, she took a picture of some of my books. One of them was Christopher Hitchens' How Religion Poisons Everything. And so that wasn't a good picture to take. You know, we feel safe exchanging thoughts, but, you know, don't bring that shit to them because it might get you in trouble. And I think that's probably what happened. And so she showed them the title of this book, and she didn't know what it meant probably, so she asked him what it meant. And well, that wasn't good, because then messages were written to my husband, and just that sisterhood bond kind of broke. And originally I had this idea to project on her hijab the three elements to her story that she was talking about. Was the childbirth, the midwife that really destroyed her body, to project it on top of like either a mannequin that has a hijab, kind of like a documentary animation, but it's also an installation at the same time. So that was the original idea, and she was the perfect, you know, person to help me on this adventure. I wanted to get to a point in our relationship where I could have explained this to her, but it just fell apart, and without her I didn't have the story. And so I took a step back from doing this very personal exchange with women one-on-one. So I reassessed how I wanted to display this story, and I suppose that in Turkey, talking to women and really having a long-lasting and deep dialogue is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So I think that I just took that inspiration, and now I'm feeding it into a short animation. And I want to call it Take It Off. you can, I mean, it's amazing how much just a piece of cloth hinders so much progress and helps perpetuate this very toxic, male-centric culture that really shouldn't exist. And you know what? Turkey is a great place to start talking about this out loud with these people, because most Turkish people have not read the Quran. So they become apologetic and they do acrobatic moves to justify what's in the Quran or reinterpret. If you don't read it, then you can't see this toxicity, and then you can't fix the toxicity. There are things that need to just be written out or changed, and I think Turkey needs to step up their game, and I don't see it being talked about at all, really, in a reform kind of way. That's what I think. Take care. Peace and happiness.